For the last 7 years of her life, my mother-in-law lived in a home, mine. And when coworkers and friends learned that Chris's mother was living with us, many of them would say something along the lines of, "Oh my God, I couldn't have my mother-in-law or my mother living in the house with us. That would be terribly difficult." It wasn't so difficult, but then they didn't know my mother-in-law, Helen Foley. Helen, Mom, was a remarkable person. I mean, she lived to be 95 years old, and she had a joy for life and living. Her intellectual curiosity and sense of humor and knowledge and grasp of current events did not fade with her, all the way to the end. She loved to read. She enjoyed literary novels. And she and Chris would go to the library once a week and come back with armloads of books. And she read the New York Times and the local paper every day from cover to cover. She had a wonderful sense of humor. She was a self-taught watercolorist, did wonderful paintings. She had a sense that she needed to do whatever she could do to help others who were less fortunate than was she. And she was a faithful letter writer. She believed writing a letter was an act of love that really showed somebody that you were thinking of them and cared about them. So she wrote letters often. She was born in Ohio, and her family, when she was very young, moved to a small town in New Jersey. And she married the boy next door, who became a doctor, Dr. Jim Foley. As a young woman, she worked in Washington, D.C., in the Office of Inter-American Affairs. I have no idea what that was. Before moving in with us, she lived in a senior housing apartment building in Columbia, and she had many friends there. And Helen was always collecting friends. She would talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, in the grocery store line, at the library, the people at the table next to her in a restaurant. She would just start chatting them up, and before she was done, she would have another friend. And she had lots of friends at the senior citizens home, but there were some people there that annoyed her. Among her pet peeves were people who complained about the slowness of the elevator, and it was a very slow elevator, complained about the slowness of the elevator in that building every time they got in the elevator. And Mom would say, "They're like 80 plus years old. They're probably just going upstairs to have a nap. What's the rush?" But then, they don't have much time left. So that was Mom. And shortly after she moved in with us, she decided that it was time for her to do her funeral planning. And so Chris took her to the appointment, and Mom made her decisions. And some of her decisions surprised us. No funeral mass, no wake, and she wanted to be cremated. Well, wanted is the wrong word. Decided to be cremated, I suppose, is appropriate. Now, this is a big deal in a Catholic family, to not have a mass and to not have a wake. And cremation, until very, very recently, cremation was one of the few activities banned by the Catholic Church that was not any fun. And Mom realized that her decisions might be an unpleasant surprise for the family, so she decided to write all of her children. She had 7 children, 4 girls and 3 boys. And she wrote each of them a letter telling them of her plans. And when she mentioned the not having a wake, she pointedly added that visiting hours are now. Death is probably the darkest cloud in our lives, but Helen Foley, a woman who loved life, because she was able to face death fearlessly and talk about it with her family, brought a silver lining to that very dark cloud. And we miss you, Mom. Thank you.